when I went to prison in Mexico, I got caught at a. It's like the army stays there, and they stop all the cars when they're passing by. It's called Huizache. It's in San Luis Potosi, and we got stopped. Me and my passenger, we got pulled over, and we got asked why we had been in Mexico for such a short amount of time. I was already losing my cool. I was using drugs a lot. I was greedy. I was making a lot of mistakes that I shouldn't have been making, and one of them was leaving the country way too fast, and obviously being high, on cocaine as I was driving a vehicle full of stuff. So we got stopped. I got nervous. I panicked. Answered all the questions wrong. They put the car up on the checkpoint, and they told me to go downstairs. Proceeded to go downstairs, and they started roughing me up. I'll never forget. The guy hit me in the stomach with the rifle. Pretty much made me throw up. And I'm not gonna lie, I got scared. I was in a different country. I thought that it was gonna be a slap in the wrist, and I ended up getting arrested that night, and I sat in the dark cell all night until they transferred me into the San Luis prison. As I walked in, all they did was open this big black gate and shut it behind me. And I looked back at the guard, and I asked him, I was like, where am I gonna live? And he was like, Buscale, go find somewhere to live. And if some of you have seen some of my videos, 10 minutes later, somebody asked me for my shoes, and I got stabbed for my shoes. Mexican prison is very, very violent. There is no rules. There's inmate rules. There's no guards inside the prison. So pretty much you have the head guys that run every section. Where I was at, there was 8 sections, and they all go by numbers, and every section was ran by a different organization or state of Mexico that ran every section. While I was sitting in the hospital, the main guy from Section 8, came to talk to me about me moving over there, because obviously they knew that I was American and I had money. Section 8 was the best section you could live in. They had showers, they had toilets, like normal toilets, normal showers, hot water, cold water. They cleaned up the place. It was like really top of the line, like 5-star hotel shit. All the other units were different. Unit 2 was the poor unit. It was the dirtiest, it was dark, there was no light. That's where all like the gang members lived at from that city that were there for like murders and robberies. All the poor people pretty much lived in that unit. Section 2 and Section B were all the poor people in that state lived at, and it was bad. You didn't really go into those sections at all. A lot of bad stuff happened there. So I ended up moving into Section 8, living nice. You have to pay a weekly rent. You have to buy your cell, buy your mattress, your bed, everything. When I first got there, I was living very well because my people were taking care of me. The family that I was working for was sending me $1,000 every month. So it was actually more than enough money that I needed to live well. I was actually walking around in my Nike, windbreaker suits, my nice watch, my nice chain. I was actually living like they call it a maiceron, a baller in there. And I started hanging out with all the maicerones, all the big time dudes that, had money in there, and started, living that life of partying. And Sundays and Thursdays were visiting days, so those are the days that all the families came in, all the girls came in, drugs, prostitution, liquor, everything came in that day. We had it there all the time, but that day was like the big days to party. In the prison itself, there was grocery stores, restaurants, pharmacies. When I say pharmacies, you know, it's the people that sell drugs. There was pills, cocaine, you name it, there was everything. The best way I always tell people that I describe the Mexican prison is like the movie Get the Gringo with Mel Gibson. It's very, very close to what it was. It's a town inside of a town. And the only thing I could say about me being in the Mexican prison is it was the fastest prison term that I ever did, because it went by so fast, because I was always drunk, high, and you know, I had women. So, you know, I've never really told the full story. I'm gonna tell the full story on this video, but all that partying and all that stuff, you know, because I was hanging around with all the big timers, all the dudes that had big money, you know, Donato, Don Pepe, all the big dudes in there that were the Maicerones. You know, they would have parties with the mariachis, they owned the carpentry, they would have big parties where, you know, they brought in people from outside to have parties, weddings. You know, we'd party for 2-3 weeks non-stop. And, you know, slowly but surely, you know, in Mexico, you know, poor people smoke weed, poor people do pills, you know, the ballers do cocaine and smoke rock. And, you know, that's where I became addicted to crack cocaine. You know, I had a very, very close friend of mine, you know, Ricardo Salas, that, you know, he always had my back in there, always, 100%. Cause I was young, man. I was 17 years old, and I was always getting into shit. I was always high. I was always getting into fights, and he would watch my back like a big brother all the time. Sometimes he wouldn't even let me fight. I would start the fight, and he would finish it. And you know, to this day, he's my dog, my everything. You know, we still speak to this day. And you know, I became a lost kid in there. I started being really, really addicted to crack cocaine, and you know, all the money. You know, I used to live, let me tell you, I used to live in a cell with carpet, you know, TV, color TV, you know, I had a radio. I had all the stuff that, you know, only, you know, ballers had in there. And I ate at restaurants. I didn't go eat the beans in the morning and none of that stuff, you know. They give you 3 meals in there. In the morning, it's a cup of oatmeal with a hard ass bread, then a couple tortillas, a couple beans with some tortillas for lunch, and for dinner they'll have some kind of fucking stew or something with tortillas. So the food was bad. So if you don't have money and you don't have people helping you, you're gonna suffer. You're gonna suffer. And you know, at the end of this video, I'm gonna tell you guys 5 things that you need to know as an American if you go to prison in Mexico. So, you know, all that shit started happening, man, and I started becoming very addicted to crack cocaine, and I started smoking it every day, man. It was the most addicting drug that I had ever used in my life. I could not put it down. And it got to the point where you know, my friend Ricardo started getting very, very disappointed in me because I started selling everything. I mean, it got to the point where I had no clothes and no shoes. I was just walking around with the same jeans, same pants, the same shoes, just looking bad, just like a crackhead on the streets. And you know, I in a way, I thank God that I actually became addicted to that in there, because it still put like a barrier to how far I could go instead of being on the streets, you know, probably robbing people and doing stuff like that. But, you know, it got to the point where it was bad, and I ended up getting into it with somebody that is a somebody in there, and they kicked me out of that unit 8, and they made me move into Unit 2. Let me remind you, Unit 2 is where all the poor people are at. All the gangbangers are there for murder. All the people that get high on, you know, tinner, paint tinner, pills, all the really bad stuff. You know, and they sent me there with a purpose, because they wanted these these guys to pretty much kill me. They wanted to get rid of me. I owed a lot of money. A lot of money. When I say a lot of money, about $6,000. And they wanted me to get killed, you know. So they made me move over there. I'm not gonna lie, I was fucking terrified. I was scared. I ended up moving over there. You know, this unit was the most dirtiest fucking unit. It was so fucking dirty that when you walked with sandals to go shower, you had to be careful because there was hawkers, booger hawkers all over the floor that sometimes when I wasn't paying attention, they would get on my fucking toes, and that shit was fucking disgusting to me. They were all over the place because they didn't clean, and all these motherfuckers would spit. It was nasty. The toilets were a hole in the wall, in the floor. So like it smelled, there was roaches. The showers was just a square with water. The water was fucking freezing. I had to like prep myself to take a shower because the water was so cold, you know, to actually have the balls to get in. But they moved me over there, and you know, I went to go live in this cell. I'll never forget the first night I slept on this dirty ass mattress, and I don't know what they're called in English, but I think they're bed bugs, but in Spanish they're called chinches. They're these little black things that suck your blood. I went to bed on the mattress. I was just happy that I had somewhere to sleep, you know, because I didn't know what was gonna happen to me, and I didn't want to go to the hole in Mexico. It's like, it's fucking hell. So I got a room. I went in there, went to sleep. I woke up in the morning, I shit you not, I was covered in bites from my wrist all the way down to my toes. Like, it looked like I was sick. I thought I had caught something, you know, and from using drugs and shit like that. So, in the morning I woke up and I started talking to some of the guys that were my neighbors. They were natives from right there from San Luis. And I showed them my arms, and they started laughing, and they're like, "Oh, you have chinches in your mattress." And I was like, "What the fuck is that?" And they went inside my cell, and they're like, raise the mattress up, you know, and the mattress had like a hole in the middle. I raised it. Holy shit, there must have been like 1,000 bed bugs together, like in a pile, because they don't like light, together. And that shit, to this day, I still get the fucking creeps in my fucking skin, because all night they were fucking feasting on me and eating my fucking blood. But, you know, I became real good friends with these dudes next door, and they actually started vouching for me in there, and people started being real cool with me, you know, and they would bring, so they were natives. So since they were natives, their moms and sisters and aunts and uncles, their family would bring them food at like lunchtime. You know, they would bring them baskets with food, and the canasteros would bring them in and scream their name and give them their food. And they were taken care of because they were from that town. So they started becoming real good friends with me. They would invite me over to eat. One thing I gotta say is that I've always been good, you know, I carry myself well, so people tend to like me. And they started inviting me over. I started dating one of his sisters, and you know, I started to fit in with the people that were supposed to, like, you know, kill me. So, you know, it was funny because I started actually, you know, I started getting like high on Tinder and pain and all that bullshit too, you know, and I would be, you know, puffing on a sock all day. And my friend Ricardo, you know, he would, you know, he would like laugh at me and be like, "Dude, like, I'm so disappointed. You went from being a crackhead, now you're, you know, puffing on gas and this." He's like, "You know, get your fucking life together." And I mean, I was young, man. I was 17 years old. I was just, you know, fucking lost. I was depressed. I was in a fucking prison in a different country with fucking 15 years on my head, you know, and it was fucking crazy to me. So, you know, I was trying to deal with it the best as I could. And, you know, my mom would go over there and see me, and I was lost, man. She would see me, and I would leave her in my cell, and I would go get high. You know, there's a lot of stuff that I regret to this day that I did over there. But, you know, it is what it is, and you don't think what you're doing when you're doing it like that, when you're high and you're under the substance and all that stuff. So these guys that I owed the money to started getting mad because these guys weren't doing nothing to me. You know, I actually became really good friends, and I all I did was stay in the unit. I wouldn't leave, so that way these guys couldn't, you know, do nothing to me. So one day they came up to the front of the door and they were like, where's Pollo? Because they used to call me Pollito. It means like little chicken, because I was young. You know, I was one of the youngest guys in the prison. They wanted me to be turned over to them because, you know, they wanted to take care of me. And, you know, the guys stood up and they were like, you know, no, you know, you're not going to do nothing to him. You know, he's one of us. So I'll never forget that day that, you know, these guys all stood up for me, and I used to like think I was better than them. I used to like, when I used to see them, you know, high and all this stuff, I used to walk around in my Nike suits and all this shit. So, you know, it was a very, very big moment in my life where I started to realize that you should never judge nobody. You should never think that you're better than nobody. And, you know, it's crazy, like the person that you least expect sometimes is the person that actually, you know, gives you that hand to help you up. You know, I kind of hit cruise control after that. I started kind of reading the Bible, and I started sobering up a little bit. And I was trying to get better, you know, and, you know, I would party once in a while after that, and I was just trying to like make it by, you know. I didn't really think I was gonna come home from being in prison over there. So, you know, I'll never forget the day the American consul came in and, you know, shouted out my name, and, you know, they were like, you know, you better not run, we're taking you to America, you're getting extradited. And I was like, dude, I've been waiting to fucking go home. Like, I think about 120 pounds when they picked me up. I was a size 29 waist. Like, I was pretty much skin and bones. I was pretty much fucking dying in there. So I mean that when I say that American prisons are 5-star hotels. If you have not been in a Mexican prison, you don't know what fucking prison is. You know, they feed you here, they clothe you, they give you shelter, school. I mean, you name it. It might be not the best, but they give you all this stuff, and it's for free. Not for free, but you know what I mean. And, you know, 5 things that you need to know if you go to prison as an American. 1, you better have money on you. 2, call the American consul as soon as you're there. 3, do not step into a cell with nobody you don't know when you're first there, new. 4, if they ask you for your shoes, just give them to them. Do not think you're tough. And 5, hope that you make it home. This is JC with Wrong and Strong, and stay tuned for what's about to come up next.